But there's a couple things you want to look out for before going into advanced segmented retargeting. First off, you really want to stay organized with your naming schema. I'm going to provide you a great naming schema, but if you don't necessarily have a naming schema quite yet, either stick with the one I provide you or stick with the one that you create. But the point is, you want to stick with one particular naming schema. Make sure you plan your offers out. Don't just dive into this unknowingly. Have some sort of a plan to execute what offers you want to show your customers. It doesn't have to be that sophisticated, just a general idea, but make sure you plan it out. So whether you're going to be doing coupons with heavier discounts, or you're going to be free plus shipping, or buy one get one offers, or you can offer some sort of an incentive like a referral bonus, something to get the customers engaged with an offer again. Just think about it, what it is that it's going to be. And also you want to avoid banner blindness. So don't be positioning your message, showing the same message over and over and over again. Okay, that does not work. Showing the same user the same message would mean you're just going to hit them with a higher frequency. We don't want to be hitting them with a higher frequency because we want to be exposing the user to the brand, not necessarily the message over and over again. But if we're exposing them with the same message, they're eventually going to get something called banner blindness, and that's going to prohibit you from getting that return on investment we talked about earlier. So the goal is you want one offer per time period per level of intent. Now, your level of intent may differ from the levels of intents that I'm presenting here, especially if you're not doing e-commerce, but just as an example, you'll get a good idea of what your levels of intent are by following this procedure. So this applies for any type of product, and this is a proposed offer time length. This doesn't have to be the one that you go with. This is the one that we like to use here at Funnel Insiders. This is the one that I've used for all my e-commerce stores. This is generally the rule of thumb that we start with, but it could be 0 to 7 days. It could be 0 to 14 days. It just depends on the type of offer and the type of product or service that you're running. In general, 0 to 3 days, all the way to 91 to 180 days are the offer time lengths you want to work with. Facebook's Pixel goes back all the way 180 days, so you can actually utilize 180 days worth of data. Now that 180 days worth of data doesn't actually, everything beyond that 180 days you don't have access to on Facebook, so that's why we stop at 180 days. And the further the user gets away from your message or the initial offer that you showed them, most likely it's going to be harder and harder to convert those users no matter what we do. So there's two strategies that we can use to get these users to kind of convert, and we have this concept called the distance from the funnel. From the initial funnel inception point when they get exposed to your first message, how far is a user during these time periods? So you have two options to work with here. You can work with a further version or closer version of these intent levels, of these time periods. So this could be something that you modulate and modify depending on the type of intent and the level of intent the user proposes to you. Remember, we're splitting this up by level of intent. So we can present people who viewed content offers different than people who added to cart at different times. It doesn't have to be always the same offer, the same discount for different times. So we can actually start changing up the percent off or the type of offer depending on when the user actually engaged us with a particular level of intent and time period. I'm going to keep everything very simple here, and we're going to go in the diagram. You're going to see it's a simplified version of this, but the combinations are endless. So the users that are furthest away from the funnel, can be the users that are furthest away. The users that are furthest away from the funnel, the better the offer should be, especially when you have something of a low intent level, like view content, because people who viewed content, you want to expose them to different tiers of giveaways and discounts. The first one, they may not react to, especially if it's a lower percent off. Because they've already seen your message and may have even seen a 5% off coupon in your store, the 10% off coupon is not going to do much better for them. So you really want to make sure that the further they are from the funnel, the better the offer gets, because they're getting exposed to your message more than once. So as we get further and further away from the initial funnel, the better that offer gets for them. On the other hand, the closer the user is from the funnel, the better the offer should be, which is the front end approach. You usually have one chance to convert this user because you're exposing your best, you're bringing the best right away. On the other side of the coin, with the further approach, you have many chances because you're going to slowly make the offer better. So the user might convert on offer 3 as opposed to offer 1. Now, with the second approach, you really only have one chance because we're giving it all. We're giving the most intent, the best offer up front. And as they don't react to the other ones, the offer gets worse. Now, you can actually leave it at the high-end offer, but again, then we're risking banner blindness. So you do want to change things up. And if they're not going to convert on the best offer you got out of the gates, especially for medium to high intent levels, so something like add to cart and initiate checkout would be considered a medium to high intent level. If they're not going to convert on the best offer that you've already presented them, that you have, let's say the best offer you can do is 20% off, they're not going to convert on 20% off. Most likely they're not going to convert on anything. We might as well show them the best offer up front because they were very close to converting. I mean, they left that cart or they left the checkout process for some reason. We've got to decipher what that reason is. Testing. This is key. And when we decipher what that reason is how we determine what it is that suits the user the best. We want to test many variations of ad styles to determine the best combinations. So we have many different types of ads, their exposure in Facebook. Why do you think Facebook has so many ad styles? They want you to use their ad styles to test different types of offers to their consumers. That's why they give you all these tools. So we can certainly start using many variations, many different variations and combinations of those ad styles to determine the best one. We want to test the level of discount first, or the level of offer first. So test the offer first, then you can test your ad style. So all your ads start with the photo ad, and the only thing you're changing are the discounts. Then you're going to do then once you have your discount dialed in and you know which discount performs the best for the age groups, or rather for the time period groups and levels of intent, then you can work on figuring out the best ad style. Most of the time you're going to be working with photo, carousel, and video ads. And I'll give you a couple examples at the end of this presentation of what they look like. And you want to determine the clear winner, of course, best performer. Turn off the losers, keep the winners. It's the same thing as we've been doing as advertisers for a very long time. We want to make sure that we're just keeping anything that's good, anything that has a positive return on investment, not just positive return on investment, but it's profitable and positive return on investment, and keep the losers. I'm sorry, turn off the losers. We want to keep all the winners. For scaling this, the concept with this is just simply increasing the bid. We've tested manual bidding. We've tested low bids and duplicating the ad sets. Ultimately, this is a retargeting campaign. Users are a lot more likely to convert on this, so you don't necessarily even have to have any sort of fancy bidding strategy. Just watch your frequency. You don't want to get it too high because then the same people are seeing the same ad and they're seeing the same message. It's going to become banner blindness fairly quickly. So if that's the case and you start seeing very high frequency and you start seeing a lot of people being exposed to the same exact message within your already segmented audiences, well, your audience size is most likely small, so you need more traffic on the front end. But if that's if that's just the case, that's how it's going to be, make more ads. And in fact, keep many ads rotating in there and keep adding new ads because you want to keep that message fresh to your users. Remember, the role for this and the goal for this is test. Like any other ad campaign, we're testing. Just because it's a retargeting campaign does not mean we stop testing. And just because this is a retargeting campaign doesn't mean you have to get lazy with it. We already went this far building an advanced segmented retargeting campaign, so you might as well go the extra mile and build a bunch of different ads so you can test different things. Then you'll know what your users are working with. The best part about this is if you have a winning product and you have something that you're scaling, then you have a lot of, obviously these things can last a couple months, so you can actually test a lot of different ads within your retargeting campaigns. And it's going to work very well for you. So this goes very well with manual bidding, and I'll explain this in a little bit. Types of users and these are also called, what I've been referring to as a level of intent. Users can be people who have viewed content, added to carts, initiated checkout, purchased, and other custom events. Again, I'm using e-commerce as an example because it has the most standard events, and we can easily determine level of intent with these users. Now, if you have your own custom events, that's fine. Just understand you have to figure out what that level of intent is. Level of intent is critical to determining the offer.